It's amazing what we've achieved together in the last 10 odd years, less than 10 years, in fact. To me, this has been the most gratifying part of my career so far. Everybody is looking at building the next big thing, the next feature, the next platform, the next new shiny object.
Every transaction ended with payments. And
Yeah.
UPI wasn't there. So how did you guys manage payments?
We didn't manage payments. I don't know whether you know, in the first 15 or 20 minutes of that event, pretty much every payment gateway in the company actually came down in 2014. And that was one of the very important reasons why we started PhonePe. But what it means is that we have managed to actually stay ahead of the business as far as possible when it comes to scale, so that you have enough time to actually refactor the code versus get into technical debt.
How do you think this generative AI is going to kill user interface?
My view personally is that there's not going to be a single super app in India. Code generation using any of the AI tools is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had said that last year,
Really?
early last year.
Are you still on it?
Work from home for engineers is not a good option.
Hello all and welcome to Innovators Playground, NPCI's own podcast series on tech and innovations. We are going to bring the best of the tech minds to you to learn from them. How do you shape your career? How do you plan the future and learn from all these conversations? In this episode of Innovators Playground, you're going to meet Rahul Chari. I know Rahul for last almost 10 years. He's one of the best tech experts who has built the whole PhonePe stack, which is doing billions of APIs on a daily basis. And I'm sure all of you technocrats are going to get great benefit out of this conversation. Hi Rahul, thank you so much for giving us your time and welcome to the Innovators Playground. Rahul, just to kickstart the conversation, how are you feeling now? Flipkart, PhonePe, huge tech build-ups, what you have done, achieved, scaled, millions of people using it on the road. How the journey has been?
Thank you, Dilip, for having me on the podcast. It's actually great to be here. Every day, I am extremely thankful and I feel very lucky, frankly. You and I have had this discussion many times. Where we have gotten to as a payments ecosystem, the role we play as PhonePe, the role NPCI plays as the creator and the operator of UPI, among many other things. It's amazing what we've achieved together in the last 10 odd years, less than 10 years, in fact. To me, this has been the most gratifying part of my career so far. But what excites me genuinely more is the fact that we still have not finished our job. We know that there's another 300 million that we need to actually enable for payments. We know that for the ones who are already so-called digital natives and already using payments significantly, there's still an opportunity to deepen that relationships much more. So I think for me, the building hasn't stopped. I always call myself a builder. I love building. We've had many discussions on what we can build. So I think continuing to actually improve on what we've already done, whether it is in terms of scale, whether it is in terms of performance, and actually building newer stuff. I mean, infrastructural projects that NPCI is doing so well. Building on top of that, creating new experiences for our consumers, creating new experiences for the merchants, continually growing this two-sided network, and then delivering on financial inclusion. I think there's a ton of stuff that is ahead of us, and that really keeps me most excited.
The UPI that was initially designed and UPI now, and I can say that while many things would have been common, but it's like the platform has evolved, right? When you were building the architecture in the initial days for PhonePe, not only the core platform, but the satellite systems and everything. And now what you see it now, how you have actually evolved the platform. And, it's like a moving train, fixing the moving train. And, you can't stop the train, but you have to make the train better. You have to make the train faster. So how that journey has been, especially on the tech side, platform, architecture, and overall ecosystem.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And to the train example, I keep telling everybody, that this is like a Ferrari on a racetrack, but without a pit stop. And how do you actually do any maintenance? One of the things that most people don't realize is everybody is looking at building the next big thing, the next feature, the next platform, the next new shiny object. Incremental improvements at scale, significantly more complex, and delivers significantly higher impact. So, just to all the engineers, especially the younger engineers who are always focused on creating the next big thing, I think the challenge of improving on a highly scaled platform for increase in performance is the most difficult thing. And I think that should be a focus for any company like us, any platform play like us.
It's like a billions of API happening
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And you are trying to improve the latency, for example.
Exactly. So I think one
It's a
of
great value for the company.
yeah, it's a huge value. It adds more enterprise value than building anything new.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the things that worked well for us is basically our stint at Flipkart. I have to mention that when we worked at Flipkart, and it's not just Samir and me, I think a lot of my engineering team, at least the folks who joined me very early on, had some sort of stint at Flipkart, as well as other companies that have built platforms of scale in India. So, Big Billion Day at Flipkart, huge learning in 2014 when we launched. Similarly, a bunch of other things, flash sales that we launched for mobile phones
And the
on
volume
Flipkart.
suddenly goes 10x,
It's
20x.
the herding effect, where both concurrency as well as number of transactional calls that happen in a single second absolutely shoot up.
I can't resist myself asking this question. Every transaction ended with payments, and
Yeah.
UPI wasn't there. So how did you guys manage payments?
We didn't manage payments. In fact, I don't know whether you know, in the first 15 or 20 minutes of that event, pretty much every payment gateway in the company actually came down in 2014. And that was one of the very important reasons why we started PhonePe. Outside of the fact that COD at scale, managing cash at scale is a problem. Payment gateways were not holding up. So infrastructurally, payments were not solved for the digital transaction load. So that was one of the reasons we started PhonePe. But coming back, so all the learnings that we had from Flipkart and building platforms of scale, we actually applied at PhonePe on day one. So some of the things that I think held us in good stead were very key decisions that we actually did. We have something called shared nothing architecture, wherein all of our databases are basically isolated to only the services that actually operate them. And any sort of insert, update, read for those databases actually happen only from the services that own them.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of create a layer.
you kind of create an application layer over every database and make sure that databases don't become abused by carrying unnecessary data just to actually optimize your performance on the edge. So it gives kind of returns in the near term, but in the long term, it becomes absolutely impossible to manage.
Yeah.
What that means is that you have to actually have significantly more network calls to actually solve for possibly one single experience on the app side of it. But that is actually better than creating what I call as the postman effect, where you collect a lot of data into a single database and the database becomes the choking point. Ultimately, you live and die by the scalability of your database when it comes to transactional systems. So decisions like that we took very, very early on. Some of the other decisions that we took on the database were to be sharded from day one. Because the biggest nightmare you can get into is to completely reshard your system.
Yeah.
So early on, it might seem like unnecessary. But some of these basic common sense calls when you're actually building out the platform, if you're building something that you're going to be delivering population level scale, becomes extremely important, right? The other things that we did were to actually build what I call as UX driven services, where all your API and the API models are designed from a consumer flow lens, not bottoms up from what the service wants to deliver. Because if you do that, then you actually become more optimal in terms of the number of service calls that you're ultimately making for any experience on the app. Whereas if you actually build up saying that, okay, I have this service can deliver these different primitives, and I build an API for every primitive, somebody is playing an orchestration and a composition role on top of that, which adds unnecessary performance.
Very similar thinking, In fact, when we were looking at UPI and the market was asking that, while, this is the way we connect back to us, and whether it's UPI or any other payment system later on, which migrated back to the unified specs. What is the next mile, or for example, the app to the central system APIs? I used to just give one answer. just relay the UPI specs.
Correct.
Right? It becomes very simpler for the ecosystem, and you're talking about the same thing.
In fact, it was love at first sight when you looked at the UPI specs. The extensibility of the UPI specs was so beautiful with that simple structure of separating the authentication and authorization model.
Right.
We, in fact, when we started PhonePe, Dilip, you would know, we actually started building something like UPI on top of IMPS because IMPS didn't have the pull and the push. Very similar to what Chiller at that time, another app were doing.
I remember that.
And then through Nandan and Pramod, we stumbled upon UPI.
Yeah,
and
we
then
met, if you recollect, we met at Taj Kolaba.
Yes.
In the UPI launch.
I remember.
And
At the UPI launch
and
also at the hackathon that UPI had actually done very early on to actually encourage the ecosystem to think about what all they can build. So yeah, those are the kind of simple principles that we've actually taken forward. It doesn't mean that we don't re-architect or refactor, but what it means is that we have managed to actually stay ahead of the business as far as possible when it comes to scale, so that you have enough time to actually refactor the code versus get into technical debt. Even today, we do refactor.
Also, from an app standpoint, was the app designed like a dynamic app right from the beginning, or you kind of moved over there? You opening up the app, you get the downloads, upgrades almost like every time you open the app. So that kind of gives you a great agility or advantage in terms of time to add new functionality or keep making the app better as and when consumer is opening it.
So one of the
it's a delicate balance, right? I'm just saying how much
yeah, you're right. In terms of how much you can actually push to the app dynamically versus how snappy the app is when it actually opens immediately. One of the principles that we also had in building out the app, that the app experience has to be extremely snappy. So we have a cut and forward model, which means that everything that you see on the app will only happen if the app has already synced and pretty much downloaded it. It doesn't actually make it. Most of the stuff that you see on the PhonePe app is not necessarily rendered by just calling the server and immediately rendering that content. So the app itself is a fairly intelligent ecosystem by itself. So we have a complete sync server inside the app that has intelligent prioritization of what is the launch screen that needs to get synced in line and what can be lazy synced. We have in the network layer, we have priority queues to say that which are the calls that go into priority 0, which are the calls that go into priority 1, which are the calls that go into priority 2. We have a database management layer with its indexing on top of it so that you can actually build search there. So it's important to think of the app also intelligently as a full-fledged ecosystem and not just the view layer, because that's what gives you the flexibility to innovate and keep the app snappy.
I think this whole client-server interaction, I think you have taken it to the next level in that sense. To get the client also have the intelligence at the same time, continue to work as a client, right? Because tomorrow, if you create that download layer intelligent, right? Technically, the client can operate as a client and client can also operate as a server.
By the way, if you look at it, the compute power that all the phones have is only going up. It's only going up, right? The cost factor is going down, the compute power is going up, which means that if you're not utilizing that to the max, it's a criminal waste. There is an edge server, if you may call it that, that is available. How best to use it? Because that can deliver not just performance, it can deliver privacy. It can deliver much better controls to the user. You can actually give guarantees to the user in many ways to say that there's a certain amount of data that is not leaving your ecosystem. So there are big advantages of looking at that device as a server and how do you maximize it. Your consent architecture can have some parts of it on the edge and only some parts of it on the server side. And with AI proceeding the way it is proceeding, one of the most exciting things for me is to look at whether there are tiny LLMs that can actually start getting hosted on the phone itself. While the sizes are still pretty large, but there are tiny llama models that are already coming about that is sub 1 GB for 1 billion parameters. While it may not be ideal for doing general queries, but you actually tune it for domain-specific queries, you might be able to actually host this on the device itself. Now, it still serves only a percentage of the devices that are out there, but it's only a matter of time. And at the rate things are progressing, very soon, that some of these will be hosted on the edge.
Wow.
So, but the larger picture being that this particular device in our pocket is getting more and more powerful, and how do you utilize it?
While we have been talking about the app, the UI, the whole consumer experience, how do you think this generative AI is going to kill user interface? What do you think about it? All the colorful apps are going to become like a vanilla ice cream, or like a one prompt, and people will just talk to the app?
I think 100% the way we interact with technology will change. It would be wrong to actually say that this is the way things are going to be working forever. To be very frank, last year to this year, I've also started significantly shifting towards saying that yes, AI is very, very real. It is actually going to disrupt, and there's going to be a fair amount of change. Now, the question remains, though, is even in the past, there have been some of the modes in which you actually interact with devices being voice. Alexa was significantly voice enabled. Of course, the intelligence to actually orchestrate a transaction or an experience was not perfect, while the understanding was still good enough. In some cases, the understanding obviously was very poor. Now, the general understanding by the models of voice-driven commands has gone to a new level.
Different level, yeah.
Now, agentic orchestration of the same using some of these models across a transaction, etc., also is getting there. I would still believe that there'll be parts of the experience that continues to be the way it is, because users do like to actually be presented with certain amount of choices, make a decision based on those choices, and some of it is which is highly transactional might actually change. In which case, yes, we may actually bypass the interface layer as we know it today and go directly to the backend to actually just execute the transaction. But where choice still matters significantly and you're not ready to give up that choice, I think you will continue to be with this kind of experience or more evolved experience.
I just hope, the colorful apps remain colorful as they are today. I think, and that's what is the journey to the super apps.
When I talk about choices, if you look at menu-driven operations. Now, if you have to present every choice, even whether it's voice-based, etc., you'll never be able to process it as fast as the human brain by just seeing it can do it, right? So that's why I believe that it's going to be a mix. It's always going to be a mix, in my view.
The China has progressed in very, very different way than what India is. And you guys have started the journey, and I believe it's still work in progress on super app. So what's your thinking?
I call myself now a company of super apps, not a super app. So we have PhonePe, we have pin code for hyperlocal shopping, we have share.market for trading, and we have Indus App Store.
So India is not a super app country because of the regulations, because of the laws, or because of you think it's fairly safe to operate that way because everything is innovating so fast?
I don't think it's any of those. I think India is not a country of super apps because users in India are very different and they like to actually compartmentalize their experiences to separate apps. China, I believe, is a very different user base. You can, in a single app, throw everything at them. You can have flashing banners, you can have different offers, you can change the layout. They are more used to that and they like that. I don't think the Indian user base is like that, right? It could be for various reasons. It could be the way our journey into internet ecosystem has happened. It is still happening. People are coming in it through content and content consumption. And content consumption is compartmentalized to certain apps. Then they get exposed to shopping through another app, etc. Whereas in China, the journey possibly was all through a single app right from very early days. Right?
I think that was their starting point in that sense.
Correct. How this journey has happened and the fact that we do like to compartmentalize will mean that I don't think there's going to be a single super app that takes the entire spectrum of content, shopping, payments, financial services, etc. There will be a certain amount of aggregation, like PhonePe is a payments and financial services app now. But putting shopping into PhonePe, for example, we pride ourselves on PhonePe as being our session sizes are sub 15 seconds. We have to be as good as that if you're going to be the best UPI app out there or the best payments app out there. Now, to force a shopping experience on top of that, which is largely browse and experience driven, is a collision of core goals on the app itself. My view personally is that there's not going to be a single super app in India.
So Rahul, news on DeepSeek building the LLM model in $5 million. How do you see the impact of AI on overall ecosystem and PhonePe? How much do you use AI? Tech people have started using for coding. How does this may shift the landscape, what we are looking at?
Last year, I still remember in one of my all hands, in the tech all hands, I had said that code generation using any of the AI tools is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had said that last year,
Really?
early last year.
Are you still on it?
I'm still officially on it, but I'm not on it per se. Because I was genuinely worried about the fact that if we actually generate code that is going into production, especially in the environment and the regulated environment that we operate in, two concerns. One, explainability of the code is something that I want to actually own and I don't want to give up on. And second one is, in the case of any sort of incident, does it actually put us on a handicap because you don't know enough about the code? That was the concern.
Your fear is the developers may go blind with this.
To some extent.
To some extent.
But over the last year, reading a lot, seeing how far the ecosystem has come in terms of the abilities of the AI tools from a development perspective, I think I have to relook. And we are actively relooking. We are actively relooking every part of the SDLC process.
Some of the tech founders are saying that they have deployed it, and they have extensive amount of code is now written by AI.
I think 100%. If you look at functional snippets of code, it is extremely good. If you look at a large scale distributed system where you have to actually have it well tuned by interaction across various functional codes, it is still a while to get
You're
there.
saying that interdependent issues will still have to be dealt by the people?
Large scale distributed systems have to be still designed by software engineers, whereas code snippets, large functional blocks of code, can be actually assisted and generated. So we are looking at both coding assistance for the IDs that we use. Copilot is one of the obvious candidates. We are looking at pull request generation through one of the tools, because many times there are pieces of code that you need to get integrated across the entire ecosystem. Each of those integrations are very similar with only minor nuances by the client. You can actually do that seamlessly. Unit test generation is something that engineers are already using it across the board very well. So mapping the SDLC process into aspects that can be leveraged by these tools, and then looking at which are the tools that we can actually authorize in the company. That's where we are at. The other thing that we are planning to do is, outside of just authorizing which tool, any access to the LLMs or even something like, say, ChatGPT, for snippet code generation or for optimizations, go through a platform layer that we've built where there is authorization and audit trails. As simple as that. And then over time, we can actually even block certain types of data that are getting submitted, even though this is under the contractual obligation of, say, Azure OpenAI, where they're not going to be using it for the training of the model itself. So that's where we are at as PhonePe. But I must say that it's come a long way in a very short period of time.
Actually it scares me, the way it's progressing now.
And I think it is, while it is actually extremely useful, productivity gains have to be measured, at least at PhonePe. We are not yet there to actually claim that this is having a significant impact, but maybe by the end of the year, we will have a very strong picture on that one.
No, I think very rightly said. We at NPCI also are looking at a, if I may call it, as a calibrated approach towards this. At least I have started feeling there is no escape from this.
No, there is no going back.
There is no going back.
There is no going back.
There's no going back.
And I think software engineering overall will change, right? In the long term, how this shapes up and what it means for software engineering as a profession, I think only time will tell.
I think this whole concept of full stack developer will gain the importance, because if you are saying that as a modular or a very, very functional code, if the AI can write, then technically that can be the developer's job in that area can be replaced by the tool, and the developer can actually step up and actually look at a much larger area under his zone where he's integrating with multiple components and full engineering view. I think that's where I think the engineers should move.
In fact, I think more and more of software engineering outside of deep research has become a generalist role. I think the way engineers should look at it is to get more and more into specialization
role. Yeah. Rahul, how do you handle such a large, talented workforce? Right. I'm saying, and I've only read this. Bangalore has a bug of this work from home. What is your view on this?
My view actually is that work from home for engineers is not a good option. right? Just from their career perspective as well as from a PhonePe perspective. In fact, as PhonePe, back in 2021 itself, towards the end of 2021, we had a back to home city. Then in 2022, we got into hybrid model where it was 2 or 3 days in office and then 2 or 3 days at home. Late in 2022 itself, we started actually saying that it's back to work as always.
As always.
Work from home was a privilege even before COVID. Like many companies, we had a work from home option where you could exercise that privilege for a variety of reasons, sometimes on the personal front, and sometimes because there was either a migration that you are working late into the night. But a planned work from home because I want to do it, I don't think it's a good option for PhonePe, the life stage we are in. We are still a growing company.
But I think, very right. I'm saying if you need it, take it, right?
Yeah.
If your personal front or whatever is forcing you to do that for a short period of time, please go ahead and take it.
Yes.
Right? Because that's a more like an employee empowerment or
Correct.
The employee care for that matter.
Correct. However, in general, I feel for young engineers especially, your learning curve and your growth curve significantly reduce because you become, like I said, you then become a developer. If you're a software engineer, you're working sitting next to the business guys,
you're learning
with
from
the product teams, with the analysts,
absolutely.
having those conversations, problem solving end to end. Otherwise, you're a developer. And again, coming back to the AI revolution, if you're not a full-fledged software engineer collaborating with people, you're getting commoditized as a developer through AI.
And which AI will replace one day. One day it will replace for sure. No, I actually very rightly said. And all the engineers watching this, I think don't look at a short-term gain. Look at a long-term view. I think this whole AI thing coming up. I think the need of upping your skill, upping your interactions, and learning through various mechanisms is so high. So it's better to be in the office than getting commoditized.
Become multifunctional.
Yeah.
Selfishly, though, with Bangalore traffic, I hope that there are other companies which are allowing work from home and PhonePe engineers can come to office. That way, it's a win-win.
So Rahul, I just learned you didn't know that you and my brother were from the same batch. So I heard that you got into IIT and it didn't take that call. Very unusual decision, I may say so. Right? IIT brand is still IIT brand.
That's because I was not good enough to get a rank that would get me into computer science or computer engineering in IIT. This has become one of those clickbait headlines, unfortunately, from one interview where they just asked me that a lot of founders are from IIT. Did you go to IIT? And I said no. I went to Mumbai University, Sardar Patel College of Engineering, which I love. And they asked me why, and I said that I did give the exam. I didn't get a rank. I was getting civil engineering in Bombay IIT, but I was hell-bent on doing computers. So I chose it, and that was the answer, but that's still the simple answer, nothing else. So my parents were very supportive. They never had a problem. But interestingly, when I joined Sardar Patel College of Engineering, a lot of students were shocked that I didn't take IIT. And I still remember one of the professors, who himself was from IIT, said that I'd made a terrible mistake.
Really?
I remember in my first year, then I ended up writing an article in the college magazine about why IIT is overrated. That was my one rebellious moment.
No, I think it's good to have non-IIT founders, and I'm somewhere trying to brag myself as well. While there is so much tension at work, so much pressure at work, and this pressure we have put it on ourselves, right? That's the way I look at it, because there's so much to be done. How do you wind down? How do you spend time on the weekends? How's the work-life balance?
It's only recently, my Flipkart stint and a large part of my PhonePe stint, I had not really had a great work-life balance, right? But at PhonePe now, we have an excellent team. I'm very proud of the team. And I think everything aside, tech, decisions, to go all in on UPI and everything else, the only thing that sets us apart continues to be our phenomenal team, right? Yeah. And I'm very proud of that. And they've given me the luxury to try to take a more balanced approach to work and home. My hobby actually is very interesting. It is nothing to do with tech or digital. I love carpentry. I'm a woodworker.
Wow. So they're also a builder.
I'm a builder. And I love the fact that it's a precision hobby. It's a lot to do with drawings, exact measurements, etc. So I build. I even build furniture.
No, very good. I think, as you said that, if you love, what you do, normally the balance automatically is derived, right?
Yeah.
Compared to, if you're forced to do a work, and that's what I also believe. I see few other the tech expert like Pramod, you, and I feel that all of you guys are like the core pillars of the digital India,
You included, Dilip.
our Prime Minister's vision. So Rahul, how the younger engineers or new engineers can learn from your benefit? Why don't you start a tech blog? Why don't you write more on tweet more, or why don't you give your benefit of your experience to the younger generation?
One of the person who has been pushing me the most to try and open source has been you, right? And we've had this discussion many times.
Yeah.
And NPCI has already started doing
Yeah,
that.
we started the journey. Yeah.
You started the journey.
Because with the simple thinking that we have been a biggest beneficiary of the open
Recipients.
source, right?
Yeah.
So I think we owe back to the ecosystem, and we need to give back something. So I think that's the thinking.
No, so we've also started that.
I'm very glad.
Very recently. In fact, we've actually moved away from Mesos as our container orchestration and resource management layer, and have an in-house platform called Drove, which we've just recently open sourced. So we have started our journey on more and more open sourcing. We have actually started having a significantly rich tech blog about everything that we are doing. In fact, it has pretty high level of viewership. The feedback there is to actually get even more in depth about the tech versus being more product and tech as it is today. So we have actually taken that feedback, and we're going to actually go even more in depth on how we build the tech. So I think that is one of the things that we are taking very seriously. And I do believe you're totally right. I think if we don't do that kind of give back after having been a recipient of open source for so many years, I think it's just wrong. From all the engineers, one of the things that I keep telling everybody is that, especially now with AI and the barrier to actually solve problems using technology coming down even more, right? There was a whole phase of SaaS and public cloud, etc., which brought down the barrier to entry to build technology. Now that has been crashed further with the potential to actually use AI to basically generate code, right? The number of problems around us as a country, and the fact that people like you, Pramod, have proven that there is a API-driven model that can solve problems at population level scale. I think just looking around that, finding what is the problem that excites you, because tech is no longer a barrier. I think that's the way for every engineer to actually look at this.
Being said that, Rahul, I would still urge you to be available as much as possible, not only to the PhonePe engineers, but to engineers of the country, because you have you're so brilliant, and I believe that you can create a lot more value to the India's aspiration of building tech for the world. So Rahul, I can't let go without the rapid fire, which is going to be a fun round, and you can't think, you have to just answer from your muscle memory fast enough. What's your favorite job till date?
What I'm doing right now with PhonePe.
PhonePe. Who's your role model?
You, Pramod, Nandan.
Reading or podcast?
Podcast.
Movie in a hall or...
in a hall, always.
In a hall. The latest Gen Z terminology you learned, and this is a very controversial subject, by the way, so, but let me ask you that.
No, my daughter is 15. The latest one I learned, because she is giving her exam, is cook or be cooked.
Cook or be cooked. What do you think next innovation going to be?
I think we are living it right now. It's basically the impact of AI across the board. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for spending time with us. I just believe that we have so much to do, assuming that the PhonePe, NPCI, and the entire ecosystem will continue to make India proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dilip. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to us, and I hope you liked the conversations. And do let us know your feedback in the comments section. We will try to come back to you as much as possible.